Hi, I'm Heather Hundhausen, and I want to talk today about getting blocked or blocking someone. How do we know if it's healthy or if it's toxic behavior? So, I want to talk about both. I want to talk about when you've been blocked, because I've been blocked, and I want to talk about when you have to block someone, and I've had to block someone. And it's crazy because in the last few weeks, I've had one person who's been blocked and another person who's had to block. And it's been really interesting to hear both sides of this situation. Because when we've been blocked, we experience our nervous system going a little crazy. We might feel rejection or shame. We definitely could have anxiety about it. A lot of times we're making up stories about like, what did we do and how could we fix it and what are they thinking and are they ever coming back? When the looping thoughts start, usually that's like trauma, which comes from childhood. It could come from abandonment. And also when we get blocked, there's a very strong feeling of being unseen or unheard or rejected. So when we feel the need to block someone, we have a lot of the same feelings, which is really interesting. When we feel like we need to block someone, generally our nervous system is reacting. I am going to get into whether or not you should block the person and whether that's healthy or whether it's toxic. I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But when we're deciding whether or not we want to block someone, we're also looking at our healthy boundaries versus our fear or maybe our trauma. Like the person who's getting blocked, they're looping stories because of trauma or childhood or maybe fear of abandonment. And the person who's blocking also sometimes is blocking out of trauma. Maybe something happened in their childhood or their past where they were threatened, and this person is reminding them of that. And so they need to block them because they're feeling, threatened in their body. So do we want to block someone because we're protecting ourselves? Or do we want to block someone because we're avoiding having hard conversations? Do we want to block someone because we trust ourselves? Or do we want to block somebody because our nervous system is too dysregulated and we don't know how to take care of ourselves? And it's just easier to say, go away. Do we block someone because it's time to walk away? Or do we block someone because we're afraid of trying to figure out how to repair a relationship? Does it help us to move on if we block someone? Is there an actual danger, or are we just uncomfortable? Would there be a relief if you blocked the person, or would it turn into an obsession where you're always thinking about, did you do the right thing, and is it a form of self-care, or is it actually toxic? We're going to get into that in just a minute. So are you setting boundaries for yourself, or are you avoiding hard conversations because you're uncomfortable? So this is really where we know whether we should be blocking someone, we should be setting that hard boundary, or, is it because we're just a little upset or uncomfortable or nervous, or we don't know how to communicate effectively? Luckily, learning effective communication is something you can do through coaching and therapy, personal development. There's definitely ways to learn how to communicate where it's not as scary. And also therapy and coaching can help with those trauma responses and learning how to regulate the nervous system. So when should you block the person? Okay, for sure, if there's physical harm, if they're stalking you, if they're threatening you, and if they're continuously poking at you incessantly and it never ends, and it's making you exhausted and overwhelmed. So sometimes it's really when there's safety, when there's threats, when your body is screaming, this is unsafe, I can't do this. Yes, that's when we want to block someone. Now, A maybe zone, a gray zone, is if you're dysregulated. So if you just can't get a hold of your own system, it might be good to block somebody temporarily so that you can get a hold of your own system and then you can talk to them later. I have noticed that with one of my parents. One of my parents is a poker, and I have a really hard time communicating with this person without feeling triggered all the time. I mean, this is the person who installed my trigger buttons. So something that I've done is I don't talk to this parent or this person until I feel confident and secure, and I convince myself that he loves me very much and that he's not trying to control me. I have function of my own body, my own life, controlling myself. And when I feel really good and I'm in a really good mood and I feel very calm in my nervous system, then I respond to his texts, his calls. I call him, I make sure he's okay, I check in on him. But I've had to set a very strong boundary with this person that I'm not going to talk to them when I'm dysregulated. And that's okay. It's okay to set a boundary like that for yourself, that when somebody's just so dysregulating for you, you don't have to be in communication with them. So that's where the maybe is, how we're regulating our own nervous system. And do you feel comfortable and confident enough to interact with this person without getting completely thrown off? Now, when you should not block someone, okay, this is a big thing here. When you're trying to control someone or punish someone, this is our shadow acting out. Okay, so when you're trying to get revenge because you have resentment or you're obsessively checking from another account, like you blocked them as punishment, but then you're like, you make like a fake account so you can see what they're doing somehow in another way. A, that's not good for your nervous system. And B, that's not about you feeling like you're keeping yourself safe. That's out of resentment and revenge, and that's the shadow. Okay, so that's also probably trauma that gets to be worked through, but that's a reason why you would want to work with a coach or a therapist or personal development so that you can learn how to have healthy relationships and communicate with people in a way that isn't out of trying to attack them or hurt them. That's very toxic behavior. If you're doing that, you're doing toxic behavior. Okay, so when blocking doesn't work, when blocking doesn't work is like you think that it's a good idea, but it's not a good idea. These are the reasons that would happen. So when you're having looping thoughts, you're going over and over and over, should I have done this? Should I have done this? Is he a threat to me? Is it scary? So Napoleon Hill actually talks about in one of his books, I believe it's in Outwitting the Devil, he talks about how there was a man who was, there was an assassin, assassin was like out to get him, and he tried to shoot him and he missed. And the guy freaked out and he moved into a cabin in the woods so that this guy could never find him. And this guy would literally pace through his house, like looking out the window. The guy did this for 20 years. He lived out there in the woods for 20 years. And then he died alone and isolated. And the craziest part that was that later the neighbors discovered that the assassin that this guy was hiding from actually died 30 years earlier. So that's crazy because he's literally living in his house, like in this cabin in the woods, trying to avoid this thing that was really scary, and lost his life because of it. Okay, we don't want to do that. You don't want to block somebody and then be always like thinking like, did I do the right thing? Are they coming to get me? It's like, and our bodies do this because of trauma, right? If you walk outside of your house and you're attacked by a wolf, you're going to stay inside your house and you're going to look to see if there's any wolves outside. And even if you don't see any wolves, like you might be scared to leave your house because you're afraid you're going to get attacked by a wolf. So that's when blocking someone doesn't work, because you're You're having obsessive thoughts about them anyway. And that's your own trauma work. That's when you need to hire somebody to help you out. Also, avoidance creates anxiety. So if you were just like, I don't want to deal with this, and you blocked them, but you didn't tell them why you blocked them, you didn't have like 97,000 conversations about how this was not working for you first, and how you needed them to stop acting the way that they're acting, and how their behavior was toxic for you, and you needed it to change. If you didn't do any of that, and you were just like, oh my God, this person is dysregulating for me, and I don't really know how to make it better for myself, and you just blocked them out of avoidance, that's also probably not healthy. I tell people all the time that when you're in a relationship with somebody and you start to get flooded, it's important to say, listen, I can't talk to you right now. I'll be back in 30 minutes, or I'll come back in a week, or let's give this a 30-day rest, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So that's a much healthier way of dealing with it. The time when it's appropriate to cut it off is when you've already had those conversations and it's just not working. And you're noticing that the other person's not willing to take responsibility for anything, and they're attacking you. And you don't need to be attacked anymore. You don't need to be physically, verbally, mentally, emotionally, or sexually attacked ever again. And if you need to make that strong boundary, that's good and that's healthy and that's okay. So healing means that we've integrated our trauma. It doesn't mean you're just removing the stimulus. Okay, like, so for example, with my parent I was telling you about, I temporarily remove the stimulus, I do my integration work, and then I bring the stimulus back and it goes poke, 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 and I go, okay, he's trying to love me, he's not trying to control me, like, I'm okay. I talk to my inner child, and I continue to interact with this human that's important to me, but it's okay to occasionally remove the stimulus to regulate your nervous system. Right. And so we don't want to just continue to replay what happened without ever settling it. That's never going to be healthy, right? So here's the thing. I am willing to hold space for your body and your history and your nervous system so that you can reclaim emotional safety in your body. Okay, here's a couple quick tips for what you can do when you're feeling emotionally dysregulated. Okay, number one, something I really love. Okay, you're going to find different things for your own body. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I love. Okay, so for me, what's really regulating is the weighted blanket. Oh my God, that thing is like, it's a cuddle in a box. Okay, so like if you don't have a person to cuddle, like you had to block your person, for example, the weighted blanket is incredible because you feel so held and so contained. Vasovagal breathing. So you breathe in your nose for 4, you breathe out your mouth for 8. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 8. It actually resets your nervous system. My clients hate this. I'm like, you need to breathe. And they're like, I don't want to breathe. And I'm like, oh my God, you're a human. You have to breathe. Like, learn how to breathe in a way that resets your nervous system. What else can you do? Oh, tell yourself right here, right now, in this moment, I'm okay. In this room, there are no threats. There's literally nothing happening in this room. I am okay. That helps to reset your nervous system also. And another thing you can do is use your 5 senses. What am I feeling right now with my fingers? What do I see with my eyes? What do I hear with my ears? What do I smell with my nose? What do I taste with my mouth? Making yourself present. Put your feet on the ground. Going for a walk. Being in nature. All of these things will calm your nervous system. They're super good for you. So if you need to learn how to reclaim your emotional safety, you want to work through some of these shadows, you want to work through some of this trauma that has you in these loops that maybe makes you check the other accounts, some of this shadow work that's like a little toxic, a little abusive, if you're doing any of that, there's no judgment here. I get it. I understand it. I had to work through my own shit. I get it. If you're doing any of that, you might want to, hire somebody to help you look at that. Also, if this video supported you, I'm just doing this because I want to help you guys. So if you want to pay me back for the information that I'm giving you, it would be awesome if you liked the video, if you subscribe to the channel, because then you can hear whatever the next video is about authenticity and boundaries and feeling unseen and how do we work on our trauma and what do we do when we feel hurt and how do we regulate our nervous system. If you like that information, subscribe to the channel. And if you know somebody that you're like, oh shit, my friend totally just blocked somebody, or oh my God, my friend just got blocked and they're freaking out, send them this video. Be very helpful for them. I'm working with 2 people right now, one who got blocked and oh my gosh, like it is so dysregulating to get blocked. And then the other one who had to block, and she's wanting to like unblock and peek and say things and, the boundaries are weak. And so we're working on self-care and self-love. And, it's so hard to hold your boundary and your self-love when you've never been taught that through your childhood. So it's really nice to have somebody who's like holding you in that and is like, no, you can do this. I believe in you. You got to love your inner child. You got to take care of yourself. So if you know somebody like that, please share the video with them. Or if you have a group that you're in where you're like, oh my gosh, everybody in this group could totally be supported by this information, please share it, like it, subscribe. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.